Welcome to the Money and Meaning Show. I'm your host, Kanae Corder, National Certified Counselor and the world's #1 clinical hypnotherapist, specializing in stress management for healthcare professionals who want to turn a life of stress into a life of meaning and help their patients do the same. Tune in each week. I'll show you how to respond to yourself first. So, are you ready to let go of your stress? Well, let's get into today's show. Hey there, my prosperity pros. Welcome to another episode of the Money and Meaning podcast. Now, you may know that International Women's Day is coming up, and I'm recording this beforehand, although you might be listening to it afterwards. But I wanted to have a conversation with a good friend of mine about women's empowerment. And you know Leah. Leah's been gone for a while, but Leah was my co-host on when she and I used to do these Red Table Talk conversations. We do have conversations about the Red Table Talks. And it was so much fun. And even though our lives got really busy and things happened and then we had to stop doing it, we decided this was a conversation we wanted to come back for. So I want to reintroduce you to my friend, Leah Marshall. Hey, Leah.
Hey, Kanae. So good to reconnect.
Yes.
From snowy, freezing Chicago.
While you're freezing over there, we're having one of our first 70-ish days.
Oh my gosh. So jealous.
Oh, so sorry. So do you think I should tell the people kind of who you are and what you do out in the world, the work you're doing, or would you like to give some color to that?
Yeah, I can give a little bit of color. So by day, I work in influencer marketing for a large marketing organization. And that's everything from planning events to new content creation to industry initiatives and research. And then on the side, kind of my passion project is about 3.5 years ago, I founded the Esther Perel discussion group on Facebook. And we're now a community of almost 13,000 members from across the globe. We talk about the work of Esther Perel, who's a really well-known, well-respected therapist. And we do a lot of Facebook Lives with experts in the space that she often references and quotes their work. So that's kind of that takes up a lot of my time doing. We have a women's group that meets weekly through that community as well. So passion is really psychology and human connection, which I'm sure has quite a bit to do with what we're going to dive into today.
Exactly. And it also has to do with why we had to stop our conversations because between the two of us, and, getting our schedules together is interesting.
I know it's hard, but it's always so great to hear from you when you reach out and say, hey, I have an idea. And I always I don't even question. I'm like, if Kanae's asking me, I'm down. So
Exactly. That's how I feel too. I'm sure. Yeah, actually that just happened. And the person that you referred, I was like, yeah, I already know I'm doing it. You can tell me about it though. Yeah. Cause we, even though today, we've been through our own women's journeys. And so we may disagree is the word I'm going to use. We may disagree on some things, but we're always in alignment, even if we don't see it exactly the same way. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. It's interesting because some of our life choices definitely buck the cultural norm, like not having kids, even though we've done mentorship in our own rights. But when I think about empowerment, I think choice is such a big part of it. And making choices that are rooted in your vision for your life versus what culture says you should be doing at this moment in time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way to start this conversation because I think that when I hear empowerment, it makes me believe that the person has no choice. They have no choices and they're looking for someone to lay out those. So here are your choices. Would you choose one? Whichever one you like, you can have. These are your choices. And to me, that's not all that empowering.
Oh, that's so interesting. I think of it as the opposite. I think of the journey of discovering the choices and then picking one that's meaningful for you.
Huh. Okay. Okay. So I say that because a lot of times when I hear women's empowerment, it almost feels like we've asked for permission and now we finally got it. Like that is my interpretation of it. And I don't know if it's because on some of the events or, advertising or just, the stuff that's out there, it sounds very oppositional. Like, okay, women are over here, men are over here, and women are breaking through this and, crashing through that and pushing through. And it sounds very oppositional. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I wonder, did somebody give us this empowerment or do we already have it and we just woke up to it?
Oh, that's so interesting. Because I really see a lot of what people would consider as like women's empowerment is very token. Like, there's so much buzz that there's, an African American and Asian female vice president. But it's like, but if you look at like the rest of Congress, like the representation of women, and even the fact that it's a big deal that we have a female vice president, to me speaks to like total lack of empowerment of women.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. And in one sense, it seemed like it just happened, and then we were just supposed to all just pretend like that was nothing, that it was a woman in the White House, right? Mm-hmm. But then in one sense, I did want to just be like, all right, woman in the White House, that's how we do. But then a part of me was like, no, I want to celebrate this. I want to make some noise about this. Yeah. And I was a little torn because what you just said, like the fact that we do have to make noise about this is hilarious. It's laughable. It's sad, hilarious. Right?
Yeah. And there's so many ways, like concurrently, like women's reproductive rights are completely governed by external forces, by the government, by corporations. And that's not done for men. Like there's so many ways in which women, even though there's this facade of empowerment, like that we still are just in such a weak position compared with men. This is a little bit unrelated, but I was having this fascinating conversation with a friend of mine today. So we were at my pole studio and she and I kind of started around the same time, and we usually go to the same classes, maybe 4 or 5 times a week. And all of a sudden
and just so people understand your pole studio.
Oh, my pole dance studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden she disappeared. And I'm like, where's my friend? And then her Instagram account disappeared. And I'm like, oh my God, is she okay? And I asked around like some of the other people who go to the studio, and she is having some marital issues. And apparently her husband, who she and her husband would go to strip clubs together. But as soon as she starts dancing, and to clarify, she's not a stripper, she's going to a dance studio and doing classes with other women, for a couple hours a week. What? I mean, it's the equivalent of taking a ballet class or taking a yoga class, right? So he doesn't like it. And I'm like, do you have a sense? And it's causing issues in their marriage. And I said, like, do you have a sense of why? Like, is it about like, it's threatening to him that, she's becoming empowered in some way? Or is it like, is it in some way kind of clashing with his idea of who she was? I mentioned Esther Perel earlier, but it's like in dating and relationships, we're often picked for a role that we didn't audition for. So maybe he auditioned her for a role that she no longer wants to play. So it just was, to me, it was a really fascinating example of how for so long women's sexuality was seen as her husband's, and it wasn't her own. It was her job to deliver pleasure, not to own her own pleasure. That surfaced. And it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I just felt so bad. Like, it really felt like she was being shamed
she
for.
Came back?
Yes, she did come back. So she disappeared and then she came back. But she said to like really decrease the amount that she's going to the studio to kind of keep the peace at home. It just made me so sad that she experiencing kind of that shaming as she's like coming into her sexuality and like really just like loving it and owning it, that it's shamed. Curious to hear your thoughts on the above.
Yeah. I'm so many thoughts. First, I think I love the idea, and we've talked about this before, that we auditioned for a role. Now, maybe at the time when she auditioned, she was auditioning for the role that she wanted at the time.
Yeah.
But her character has since evolved, and he's not evolving with her. The way he sees her is the way he wants her to stay. And it's almost like how, and I see this with fathers a lot, but like fathers will see their daughters as like 12 forever.
Oh
right?
my God. Literally, Kanae, on the topic. So my dad, I was just talking about how I'm in the process of buying a condo, and my dad's been like so incredibly helpful. And for anyone who is not like watching, so they can't see me, I'm almost 40, right? I'm 40. So he calls me last night, and I've been in kind of a tumultuous living situation where I've needed to go somewhere else to sleep at night because it's really noisy in my apartment. So he knows that this other place that that I've been going to sleep is it's like a 25-minute walk. And that I'll usually go around like 10 o'clock. And he calls me last night and he like kind of like tentatively is like, hey, Leah, are you at the place yet? And I'm like, yep, I just got there. And he's like, Leah, how about like for the next month while you're still in this like back and forth situation? He's like, why don't I just like pay for your Ubers to go back and forth? Because he knows that I prefer to like walk or ride my bike. And I just had the biggest chuckle. I'm 40. And it really felt like my dad was seeing me as like, an 11 or 12-year-old. But I think
little girl.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. But I think for a dad, it's just hard to break out of that.
Yeah. And maybe for a husband too. I don't know. I'd love to see, I'd love to be part of this evolution to see what happens in this relationship. Because it could, as you and I know, could be a beautiful evolution if he sees her this new way and begins to help her embrace this, and not even her sexuality, but this way of expressing herself. Because even though pole dancing is seen as sexual, that's not exactly what it is. It's just that's one way of expressing yourself, not necessarily sexually. It's one way of expressing yourself. This is what I'm letting go. I'm getting this out. I'm releasing this to the world. Now, of course, you have on small clothes and usually highest heels, and you look sexy while doing it, but that's not what the only thing is about when you're doing it. And I have not done it, but I've watched it enough, including on your Instagram. So okay, would you say that?
Here's what like really, really rubbed me the wrong way about what I'm picking up on. Okay, so they used to go to strip clubs together.
Oh, yeah.
He was all about it, right? And then she starts to tap into her sexuality and kind of explore it and play with it and have fun with it and connect with other women over it. And it no longer is okay, right? And so there's this sense of only other types of women are sexy, right? Or sexy while they dance. And then there's this like subtle shaming, like when a woman is in her sexuality, like this shaming of it that he's projecting onto her. So it's like, it's okay if those other like trashier women are sexual and they're sensual and they dress up.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's not okay if all women are in touch with their sexuality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So to me,
and
that like super went me the wrong way.
I'm sorry, I forgot that part. That wasn't when you first said that, I was like, holy crap, that's double standard or whatever. And I will also want to add that, first of all, the word sexuality is a tough word for even women. They don't necessarily know if they want to be sexual or sensual or any of those words that have to do with sex. So that's first. But when you take it and put it in categories for men really do have categories. It's like, oh, this is the woman I do these things with, right? And then this is the woman I take home to mom, as they say, or, this is or even like, this is my little princess, like they just see, some men just see their woman as this little clean and this girl over here is the dirty girl, you know, kind of like that.
I have to jump in because I just had an interview. I just interviewed Dr. Leah Marshall, who wrote the book Untrue, which is all about debunking myths about female sexuality. And to your point about these buckets, how we like compartmentalize people, to me, that's a recipe for completely killing the desire in a relationship. Like the sense that I can only bring my sexual fantasies and like my kinky sexual side to the sex worker, but I can't bring it to my wife. And then you wonder why the desire fades, because we're all showing up completely masked. We're not authentic. We're not sharing our fantasies with our partner because there's so much shame around them. And then, you know, then we're in a sexless marriage and then we go have an affair. So exactly. I'm super, super against the compartmentalization. Like I don't want to do that with that person. And, you know, it's just,
And the same is also true where women don't want to be put in that, oh, that's not me. I don't do that. I wasn't raised that way, or whatever the stories that we're telling ourselves about women who do that. Right. We sometimes put ourselves in boxes, separate ourselves. No, I'm the kind of woman that only does this kind of stuff, not that kind of stuff. Right. So it's almost like the man has to then not want that kind of stuff because he's not going to get it out to this girl. Like this girl is in this box.
Yeah. Anytime I have a really strong reaction to something, to me, that's a sign like I haven't quite come to peace with it. So let's say I'm at my pole dance studio, and normally my pole dance outfit is like fuzzy socks and like yoga leggings and like maybe a sweatshirt, or maybe I'll just wear a sports bra, whatever. Like that's my happy place. Like I like to be comfortable and cozy, and I like to like slide on the floor. Whereas other people, they might wear a G-string and like a nipple exposing top of sorts and like, you know, 10 inches.
Okay.
Right. If I have any type of reaction to that, it's like, oh, like, what is that bringing up for me? And I'll try to explore it, you know, with a little bit of like curiosity. But that's like the thing is like, if someone's like, oh, you're such a purple elephant, like you don't have like a triggered response because you've never once thought that about yourself. And it's not like, it's only if someone says something where you do have like a little bit of vulnerability or insecurity or trigger that it's that you'll have that response. So anytime I have a response, to me, that's just like a sign. Okay, maybe like get curious about that. Like, what's that bringing up for you? What's the story that you have around wearing a G-string and like a nipple exposing whatever halter top?
I still have to, I'm like burning inside right now because I still have to tell you something. No. Okay, you don't even know this happened, but a couple of weeks ago, I watch your Instagrams. I watch when you do your dancing, and I've noticed that you don't. I noticed that you wear the fuzzy socks, and like you said, you just have on your leggings. I noticed this, like I actually noticed it. And then one day, out of the blue, you have on like the tallest heels I've ever seen in life, not just on you, but in life. And like, I think you had on fishnets or something, but it was just a totally different outfit.
Totally.
Yeah. But Leah, it was something so much more sexy about that video that I even went and told Jason. I was like, look, look at this video.
Yeah.
Okay. You're looking, you got it. You see it? Now look at this video. Like, what just happened? Like, did she take the advanced class? Like, it was you were so different in that other video though.
Yeah. So there are a couple reasons why. Number one, when you wear heels, the heels are kind of weighted. It's not like they have a weight in them, but like the stiletto aspect and the platform aspect is heavy. And it kind of like throws you around. So a move that I'll do, let's say it's called a swoop, like I'll swoop around the pole, right? If I do it without the weighted heel, it just feels different. It looks different. It is like gravitationally different.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it. And then I had done the choreography for that. So I choreographed the song, and then I invited some of my friends, including the friend that I was talking about earlier, to join me for it. And so it was like, I conceived the choreo. So I like fully owned it. I knew the song. And then, you know, imagine like if Beyonce was wearing fuzzy socks and leggings and like a sweatshirt for a performance versus like she had the whole thing. Like you kind of get into character, right? But the thing about me is I'm like a minimalist. Like I'm an easy breezy person. And it takes a while to like put on the outfit and put on the shoes and then take them off. It's like it's an extra half an hour and I need to like lug all the stuff around and I usually class. So for me, it's like, okay, once, maybe twice, 3 times a year, I'll dress up and I'll do the thing and it'll look extra snazzy. And then the rest of the time, I'm so content to just be casual.
That's awesome, because what I heard you say was some of it is physics, right? It just is the science of changing the weight, and then some of it was the emotional attachment you had to the song, to the choreography, even the curated, picked people that you wanted to dance with. And then also there was this I have to be sexier because I just am sexier in this moment, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So there were these layers, but all of it kind of mostly external. I mean, I guess the emotional attachment is internal, but the song and the people are external. But a lot of it is external, where I see empowerment as internal. And I feel like we put a lot of emphasis on the external because of what you just said, because it does just on its own, without me doing much of anything, pulls me into this powerful place.
Yeah, to me, the internal is being like so cool with myself that I don't care if I get more of a reaction when I wear the heels and the fishnets and the whatever. To me, the empowerment is, just being totally cool wearing the fuzzy socks because I get to glide on the floor and it saves me an hour a day.
Yeah. And to me, that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, as empowerment feels like choices that you give yourself, right? That you then accepted. You accepted that I prefer to wear these socks and leggings because it's just easier and it's convenient on my bike ride, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You still have the option, the choice to wear the heels, which you do a couple of times a year. Nobody gave you those choices. You decided to take those choices. Right. They were always there, but there are women in that room that don't feel like they have a choice.
100%.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why you and we have a certain amount of empowerment just baked inside of us. I don't know how we got it. Maybe it's because you have this loving father who still treats you like a 12-year-old because he just, so he, poured that empowerment inside of you. I have father, not the same kind of father you have. He's like, you're grown, girl. I know you can handle it. He's more like that kind of dad, like the tomboy, because I was a tomboy growing up and that's how he treats me. And my mom is quite the same way. Like, you're so powerful. I know you can handle it. And then when I do it, she's, I know it. And it claps, clap, clap, clap. Right. So I had a certain amount of empowerment growing up as well. The Beatles said, money can't buy me love. But guess what? We are all using money to get love. It's true. I'll tell you why I know. I've learned in my almost 20 years of working in the financial and mental health industries that money and love go together, whether we wanted to or not. All of our actions are based on doing what we think will get us the maximum amount of love. Now, later in life, we begin to use money to get that love. From the time we are children, we set in motion a plan to get our parents' love, then our friends' love, next our partner's love, and so on and so on and so on. So you see, around age 14, we make a final decision on how we will handle money. And it just so happens that at that same time, we are making a decision on how we'll handle love. You might decide to be a saver. You might decide to be a spender. You may even decide to be a hero or an enthusiast. Wondering what those two are? Take the money mentality quiz. It will reveal how you use money to get love. You don't have to believe me. See it for yourself. Take the money mentality quiz. Go to presidentiallifestyle.com/quiz and see for yourself. It's free, and it only takes like 2 minutes. The great thing is, you'll walk away not only knowing your money mentality or money personality, but you'll also know your money strengths and challenges, so you can do something about them. So go ahead, take the quiz, but don't stop there. At the end, remember, give me your email address, your best email address, so I can give you some guidance to get enough love and money in your life to make it full of meaning. Go to presidentiallifestyle.com/quiz. The link is in the show notes. Now, let's get back to today's show. Is empowerment instilled in you, or like, is it all inside of us, all of us, and then we either give it away or notice it, or, I want to talk that through a little bit. What are your thoughts?
So to me, disempowerment would be the messages that we receive from culture and from our family and from religion about how we should be. And that is, when we're born, we're fully empowered. And with those messages, I think we become disempowered. And then the journey of empowerment is unpacking the messages, picking and choosing what you want to keep, and then discarding what doesn't serve you.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I totally, as a hypnotherapist, talk about it all the time. And it is just so true. It's all those messages coming at you, and you can only block so many. And eventually some get in, and they get in as frequently enough for them to become your program.
Right.
And some of us buy into it, especially when you think of like religion, and religion is repetition, right? You go every Sunday or Wednesday or whatever day you go to your religious thing. That's repetition, and your brain is going to eventually believe that. Right. And then if it is also backed by your family, because that's, there's these different layers of programming. There is society, and then there's your community, and then there's your household, right? And if each one of those layers is saying the same thing, it's really difficult not to let those messages penetrate you.
100%.
Yeah, but for some people, either they don't penetrate, or you figure out how to get out of that programming. And I think that is what they mean when they talk about empowerment, is that awakening, or that, pushing through those programs.
Yeah.
But sometimes it comes off to me as if it's asking, or like taking it from somebody. Oh, give me my empowerment. I'm taking it back now. So that's why now that we're talking this through, I feel like what you just said, that disempowerment comes at you, and then you have to try to repel it. But if it gets in, then after repelling it, if you're not able to do that, the next step is to wash it off.
Yeah. I mean, I think the challenge is like the disempowerment happens when, let's say, we're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? So we don't have the consciousness, like we don't have that awareness to repel messages that could be not serving us, whether they're from our parents or from teachers or, whatever, our peers, whatever else it might be. So I think we all do get disempowered, because generally we're surrounded by unconsciousness. So the first step is realizing that you can unpack it and get that awakening and awareness. And then the second is like the journey of unpacking and reprogramming. And the two people by far that I think excel at this are Dr. Shefali Sabari and Price Gibson as well.
As clearly we are on the same page with that. Like, it is about just noticing all of those programs, all of those messages, whether it was, your societal programming, even just looking at your community, or just looking at your household, and then even stuff that you decided, maybe commercials or something made you decide, because there are some things that you believe that your parents don't believe. So that didn't come from your household, and it doesn't necessarily have to be. Right now we're talking about kind of negative programming, but it doesn't have to be negative. Some of it could be positive. Like, I was just born with an extra dose of honesty and boundaries. Like, I just don't know where I got them from, but as a very little kid, I was just always like, no, I will not stand for this kind of thing. Yeah. So I was never going to be the kid to get molested, because I was loud enough. I was quiet most of the time. So somebody might think, oh, I probably can get over on this kid. But then as soon as they come up, I'm like, no, back away. You're 30 years old, man. So I'm 8. I don't know if you noticed. I'm 8. You're 30.
Yeah.
Right. I was just very blunt and honest about that kind of thing. Everything, not just that.
Right.
And so I think some of going back to our sexuality, some of that empowerment or those messages that come out are in the little things that happen in families that families don't talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have so many friends and even patients, male and female, that were victims of that stuff that didn't get talked about in their families, and they really didn't know what to do next. And I think something that big happening to you, not being able to talk about it, it takes a certain amount. You don't know you even have power after that.
Yeah. I was just thinking about kind of what you shared about sweeping things under the rug in conflict. And I think one of the things, like if I could design an ideal school experience for children, it's like we're never taught how to navigate conflict. And I feel like so many of us just go into our fear response, fight, flight, flee, or like fawn and fix are 2 additional ones now that people talk about.
Mine is appease, which is like, just make it funny.
Right. Exactly. Pretend like it's not happening. Yeah. And yeah, it just strikes me, we're just all at such a disservice. Like I think about a lot of relationship experiences I've had with people where I've shared like an incredible connection, and it's just so clear, like they don't know how to handle conflict. And our conflict wasn't even that big. It was more, it was just like little things that came up, and people like ghost, or they'll just like totally pretend like elephant in the room, like there's nothing going on. And so when I think about empowerment, another element is like, how do you deal with conflict? Because conflict comes up in relationships. It's just a natural part of them.
It does. Oh my God, this is a big, big conversation. I recently went through something like this with a young adult. And when I say young adult, I mean like 19 years old. And trying to explain to him, and it's not even, I know we're talking about women's empowerment, but this is a young man, and trying to explain to him that the reaction is not always cut somebody off and disappear, block. I know this is like the Instagram, social media etiquette, like, oh, if you piss me off, I'm going to block you. But sometimes I'm going to have a conversation with you. Maybe 1 is a misunderstanding here. 2, it may very well be that you guys don't need to be friends anymore, but at least you can have a conversation to make that decision 100%. Together. Yeah. And so I'm just watching this happen over and over and over again. And I'm just like, why is that the immediate response? Where is like you said, the confrontation? Just address it. Just address it, and then make a decision after you address it, how to move forward from there. But there's just, like you said, it's not taught in school. It's very difficult because kids are in school for 8 hours, and then you come home and you have a few hours with your parents while they try to teach you some of these ideas. But the parents don't always know how to handle conflict either. So they're having a hard time expressing it to their children. Children go in their rooms, close their doors, and parents don't know what to do with that. So they just let it happen. So it perpetuates it even more.
100%.
Yeah. I always tell my parents as a therapist, I always tell my parents, no matter what, you bring it up. And they say, I don't want to talk about it. You say, okay, I understand. In the event you change your mind, if you ever want to talk about it, come, I'm willing to talk about it with you. So allow them to say, I don't want to talk about it. You don't have to force them to talk about it. Give them their space. They will come back, because teenagers like to talk. They just don't know who's going to actually listen to them. They just don't want to be judged.
I was the opposite. My dad has this joke that like from ages 12 to 13, I didn't say a single word to them. They asked me, what's going on at school? Nothing. Like 1-word responses for an entire year.
Yeah. Yeah. And that does happen. That happens a lot with teenagers. And, I don't know that it's one specific age. Like for you, it was 12 to 13. For somebody else, it might be 14 to 16. You know, it's just this gap of time that you are not willing to talk, especially to adults mostly. You know, if you have your friends, then you're probably more willing to talk to your friends. Not
Yeah.
every teenager even has friends. Sometimes that's the challenge in what they're dealing with. But that goes back to empowerment, because high school is where a lot of our power either gets shined on, like, oh, you're big and amazing, or you're small and nothing.
Yeah.
And then you either believe it or
Yeah.
don't believe it.
And if you think about like you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and you think about that through the lens of empowerment, like who are you surrounding yourself with? You know, if you're in college and you're in a sorority and your sorority sisters like are the 5 people that you live in a little suite with or in a, you know, an area with, like that could be a crapshoot. Like, are you consciously curating empowered people to be the people that influence you the most?
Yeah, absolutely. And the same but opposite version of that is you might have what you consider powerful people around you, but somehow you don't feel like you measure up to them. So you can have these, you know, empowering people around you. They've somehow gotten power, but you feel smaller than they are. And that's not their fault. Exactly. But that's also a dynamic that happens where people surround themselves with people who they believe are bigger or better, and they associate with those people to give themselves some, like, oh, well, I'm connected to this person, like powerful by association or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting that you mentioned imposter syndrome. That's not something, I certainly have like my share of what we call like core wounds, but imposter syndrome isn't something that I bump up against a lot. What about for you?
No, me either. That's quite the opposite, actually. I always think that I could like water ski if I just thought about it hard enough. Like I always think I'm capable of whatever. You know, when people get up there and like, I never thought I'd be, you know, this girl from a small town. I never thought I'd be up here. I always thought I would be up here.
So what advice would you give? Let's say there's a listener who does experience imposter syndrome a lot. What advice would you give to them?
Number one, for me, I always say, find what you are drop dead good at. Every single one of us has like the thing that we do. And it might not be important to you right now because you're looking at somebody else's thing and you're kind of envious of that. But if you stop doing that and just turn within and just find your thing, and you're like, oh, I do the best this, and I am the best at that. And oh yeah, that is that thing that I used to do, but I don't do anymore. There is something that you are just what I call drop dead good at. Like nobody does it better. And if you can just refocus and tap into what that is. Now, you might not actually want to do it, and it might not be a valuable thing. It could be water skiing, right? Like I was the best water skier. Like my sister is really good at swimming, but she lives in Chicago. And how often do you guys go swimming? And she's, 50 years old, so it's not a thing. But if I remember, I used to say she could have been a synchronized swimmer. She was so precise and so good at it.
Yeah.
But dancing, that girl could not dance. Now my sister is a black girl, but her dancing.
What is your thing? Like your drop dead thing?
Here's the thing. My thing is that I am good at a lot of things. Like accidentally. I don't even know how I get good at them. Just accidentally. But the one thing, like my ultimate claim to fame is this insight. Like I have this insight. If I talk to you for just a few minutes, I'm going to be able to tell you things about yourself that you just didn't even ever think of. And you're like, I am like that. I do that. And everybody feels good after being with me. Like it doesn't happen that somebody feels worse after they leave me. So that's like accidentally, without even trying, just something I do. And so, and I know it now. I didn't always know it. Maybe like 15 or 20 years ago, I learned it. But that to me is my thing. And it feels so good to know it, but it also feels good because I don't deprive people of it. I used to be irritating 20 years ago before I discovered it. So be like, oh my God, what people, like I felt ungrateful for the gift. But that's how we feel about our gifts a lot of times.
Yeah. For me, I'd say
I was just
community
about to ask you.
community management, because we deal with a lot in our community. Like, people find Esther Perel through different avenues. So some people, she writes on infidelity and affairs. So some people are in the aftermath of an affair. And one person might join because they're the other person, and another person might join because they're like the betrayer, or they're betrayed. And so we have a lot of different people who normally would be see each other as kind of like the enemy or the person who's in the wrong. And so I think I just have a knack for creating a space where there's a lot of vulnerability and openness, but also safety, shame-free, no shaming, no like judging, creating a space where people share their perspectives, but in a safe, supportive way.
Wow. Yeah. And that really does take some skill.
Yeah, 100%. And they're like these little mini explosions that will happen that, you need to deal with like right away. The latest one is there was a thread where a group member was talking about her partner not having the same idea about the COVID vaccine. So she wanted the family to all get the COVID vaccine. He didn't want to get it for himself. He didn't want the kids to get it. And there was a really interesting discussion that unfolded around like that relational process related to the vaccine. But as you can imagine, it also devolved into like a pro-vax, anti-vax, which is not the purpose of our community. And, people have very, very strong feelings. Like, I know that that's not our mission, but this is so important that we should be discussing it anyway. So, there are moments that take a little bit more skill, but I think for the most part, it comes very naturally to me.
So do you feel like leadership and like empowerment are the same thing or somehow related or connected?
Maybe connected a little bit. I do think it's hard to lead if you don't feel empowered, but I wouldn't necessarily say someone who's empowered is automatically going to be a good leader.
Yeah, me either, because I am very empowered. Like, I'm just a powerful person, but I don't really enjoy leadership that much. Like, I want like some leadership. I'd rather be like a co-leader than like the leader of the group and all follow me. If I was a founder of something, I'd like want to bring in a co-facilitator or something with me, because I don't enjoy leadership that much. And people will disagree with me because I am so powerful, so confident, and so out front. But it's just not my thing. And I have people around me who are way better leaders than I am. And I'm like, that person needs to lead this group, not me.
Yeah. I think for me, it really depends on the situation and if the experience meets like deep personal needs that I have. So for example, like at work, like I like my work. It's really creative. It's challenging. I love the team that I work with. But I've never had like deep aspirations in that area. But talk about like, let's say like we're discussing relationships or psychology or something related to like human dynamics. I'll just find myself like, let's say they need like a volunteer table facilitator. Like, I'll jump at the opportunity. When I was on jury duty, jumped at the chance to be the foreperson of the jury. I don't know. They're just anything that's like dealing with human dynamics. I find myself like, without even thinking about it, like the volunteering. But career-wise, I don't gravitate towards that as much at all.
That's a great way to put it, because I see that I want to be the leader in the planning, but I don't want to be the leader in the execution. Now that you helped me break that down a little bit more, like I'm jumping at the idea that like, wait, I know what we can do. Like, here's the plan. Here's the situation. Like, I got this strategy and the tactics, and I'm all up front for that. And then when it comes time to execute, I'm like, ooh, somebody else should do that leadership part. And so I think that adds to our empowerment, because you talked about awareness, but being aware of, I call it like your birthright, like that honesty, that boundary setting, that strategic person. That is my birthright. I was born with that stuff. Nobody had to teach me. I'm not taking a class on it. It just is something that is inborn in me. And that's where I'm most powerful. Now, are there places that I might need some body to empower me and like, look, I just need for you to do this. Could you just do it for me? Like sometimes that's the empowerment I need for you to kind of guilt me. Could you do it for me? And I'm like, sure, fine, I'll do it for you kind of thing. But if you have that, like that awareness of where you're powerful, then maybe you can let go of some of the places that you're not necessarily powerful, because if somebody has to give you that power in that place, maybe that's not your power to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it takes awareness of like the element of ego that can come from leadership. So if you're someone who's like deeply attached to your ego and like you always need to be in the leadership role versus like, is this advancing the things that I love or like areas of strength or areas where I want to make a contribution?
Yeah. 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 I like that. Absolutely. So just to, kind of bring this all full circle and wrap up a little bit, I'm wondering I don't know if I would know how to say this exactly, but I feel like I'm a little bit entitled, like I sound entitled when I talk about empowerment. And if there is a 60, 70-year-old woman listening to this and she's like, honey, you have no idea about what I've been through and blah, 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 blah. I could just imagine her fussing at this podcast episode because I'm like, hey, I was born powerful and I can do anything I want. And she's like, well, yeah, because of the stuff that I did when I was your age. So I'm wondering if I sound ungrateful. I do not mean to sound ungrateful, Auntie. Any auntie, grandmas, or mamas out there listening, I do not mean to sound ungrateful, but what I do mean to sound is progressive. Like I've progressed from wherever you were, your generation and the generation before yours. I don't even see that anymore, and I can't identify with it. Like the purple elephant, I've never seen a purple elephant. I don't know what that is, so I can't even understand not being able to use my voice and step into rooms that I want. And even when I don't fit in, like at country clubs that really don't want a Black female in their country club, I know it. And I don't usually go into those rooms, but I do go in to let them know I'm choosing not to come here because of who you are, not because of who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts when it comes to maybe I can sound entitled because some women have come before me?
Yeah. To me, they're always going to be, if you look externally, there are always going to be ways in which others are trying to hold back your power or hold back your rights or curtail them, right? There's just countless examples, pretty much for everyone across the board, even for white men. Like if you look at the way we curtail their ability to be emotionally expressive across the full range of emotions, or to be vulnerable, to show weakness, etc. So there are always going to be external forces that are trying to curtail your power. But there are also concurrently always ways in which we don't fully tap into, our internal ability to express it. So that's what I would say, like acknowledging the external barriers that they've helped break down, while also reminding them that we often have more power than we're exercising.
Ooh, yeah. And I feel like we're just about to start a whole new podcast episode. Like this is what you just said. That's like the beginning of another episode. That's so good. So good. So we are going to drop the mic right there, unless it's like, do you think we should like wrap it up with a few inspiring words? Or I don't even like the word inspiring. It's right up there with empowerment for me. But like, how do you think we should wrap this in, Nick, like in this episode? Because there's still so much more to talk about. Of course, we didn't even touch the iceberg. We just like sprinkled a little salt on it.
Maybe encourage some of the listeners to share in the comments ways in which they feel empowered or steps that they've taken to empower themselves.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah. So let's do that. Let's share how you felt empowered. Even you can share if you like overcome, like I used to feel like this and now I feel like that. And and we're talking a lot about women's empowerment, but I also know that there are men who raise their daughters to be powerful. I know that there are men who don't even think about empowerment. They're like, what? You guys don't have power? Where'd it go? So all of that is important. I want to know all the thoughts and all the feelings and all the emotions surrounding this. So anything you want to share it with us. We are open and And really, we're honest about whether we don't necessarily have to agree, but we are honest about that's something that needs to be talked about.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, excited to see.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining and listening all the way to the end. This has been a full and flowing conversation. So I look forward to hearing more from you. And of course, I look forward to see you guys next episode. Enjoy, my Prosperos.
Bye, everyone.
This episode is brought to you by Presidential Lifestyles Embracing Wealth Masterclass. Are you juggling making a difference and making money? I've seen so many mission-driven healthcare professionals burn out because they can't seem to find the formula between making a difference and making money. I've found that formula, and I'd like to share it with you. And as a mission-driven healthcare professional myself, I've felt that burnout and guilt. And that's why I created Embracing Wealth Masterclass. It's the guide to true wealth without burnout or guilt. I know. Imagine falling in love with your life's work. How would that feel? In this masterclass, I'll share with you my 3-step formula for breaking through the blocks that keep you from getting to your next level financially. When you join the masterclass, you'll also get a sample financial hypnotherapy session, and I'll answer any questions you have. At the end, I usually do a live coaching session with one lucky attendee. Could be you. All of this is free. So go ahead, register now for our free Embracing Wealth Masterclass. Click the link in the show notes or go to presidentiallifestyle.com/masterclass. And I'll see you sooner. Thanks for listening all the way to the end, my Prosperity Pro. I want to stay connected with you. Here are 4 ways. Pick the one that works best for you if you want to stay connected with me. 1, if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Send them to podcast@presidentiallifestyle.com. I'd love it if you would make a 1 or 2 minute audio message and attach it to an email. That'd be the easiest way for me to get it. Ask me anything about creating a life of meaning over money, and I'll get you an answer. Remember, the email address is podcast@presidentiallifestyle.com. 2, subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends, because you guys might want to have a discussion about it, especially if they're a CEO who wants to shift from the old American dream to a life of meaning. 3, we try not to have any sponsors on this show unless they are truly in line with our values. I mean, really a good fit. So that means we fund this podcast ourselves. I'd like you to take a look at our resource page to see if there's any products or services that we recommend that are right for you. If not, no worries, maybe later. If so, please use our affiliate link to purchase. Thank you in advance for doing that. You are such an amazing person. Okay, 4 and last. If you want to know what's happening over here at Presidential Lifestyle and you want us to email you the update, then go to presidentiallifestyle.com/blog/now. And you'll see the current updated blog for the week, but you'll also see a link to subscribe to that blog. We can email it to you if you like. That's presidentiallifestyle.com/blog/now. Don't worry, you don't have to remember that link or any links. They're all in the show notes. Oh, and I forgot to say, if you're enjoying this podcast, go ahead and leave us a review and tell us how much you're enjoying it. And now for the legalese. This podcast is not to replace professional counsel. The best advice is from a professional who knows you and your specific situation. The topics discussed in this podcast are general in nature and for informational or entertainment purposes only. We encourage you to meet with a professional that you can discuss your specific situation with. Whether you choose us or someone else, one-on-one counsel is important, whether it's a financial, therapeutic, legal, or other decision. So that's all for now. I'll see you next episode. And remember, You can have wealth in all of its forms. Believe it, and you'll soon see it.